Degloirespace signing in. Sometimes in a story, you're the bad guy. You're the villain. There's a scenario and you're the problem. In the start, you might be in denial, You might decide to give excuses. You might decide to hide from the fact that you are the problem. But then, if you're honest with yourself again and again, you'll find that you are the blockage in this thing that's happening. It could be many things. It could be a friendship. It could be a marriage, relationship. It could be your work. You might notice that the other person wants to work things out in their way, but they still want to work things out. But it's you who doesn't seem to be wanting to compromise. It's you who doesn't seem to be straight. Now, the first thing, if you do ever realize something like that about yourself, you might start thinking bad about yourself. You might start thinking, hey, I'm just a bad person. And I'm not here to tell you you're not. But I'm not here to tell you you are. I like the storytelling of a lot of samurai movies, the Japanese. They used to show you that the warrior, he's righteous, he's strong, but he always has something wrong with him. I remember a particular story where there was a samurai and he was the most courageous, the best fighter. Everyone feared him, but he had one problem. He was nihilistic. He just wanted to find a way to die. There's another one where they show you that the main hero, he's good, but the way he treats women isn't that good. And they give you this dilemma. So you can't help but like your character, but that character has an issue. It's more relatable to real life. If you live honestly and you look at yourself, you'll find that you're a great person, but there's particular things about you that are difficult, particular things about you that make other people's lives difficult. If you think of yourself as, oh, I'm easy, everyone, there's nothing wrong with me, there's nothing difficult about me, I don't know, maybe it's true, I don't know. But I think for most of us, it's probably not the case. I know myself. I have some very difficult characteristics. Now, when we discover that about ourselves, we look situation after situation, we see that, wow, I've been in this issue so many times. So every time I get into a relationship, every time I have a friendship, every time I have a job, I seem to run into a certain problem. Is it other people, or is there something with me? Am I doing something that causes this, or, and this is probably the better question, am I something that has difficulty with other people? Sure, there are parts of your personality that are easy to deal with and that are probably a pleasure to deal with. But similarly, there'll be something in your personality that is difficult. Now, when you identify this thing, it's important to understand that this is you. Not in a bad way, but that this is you. Too often we talk about being judgmental and we say, don't be judgmental to other people. The reason you're so judgmental to other people is, in fact, because you are judgmental to yourself. So what I say to you is, when you are studying yourself, you need to look at yourself without judgment. The more you see yourself without judgment and you see yourself as you are, your behaviors, you'll be more at peace with yourself. When people get frustrated with you, especially loved ones, you understand it's not that they don't accept me, it's that this thing that I have seems to be difficult to deal with. We don't put people on a pedestal, and we shouldn't put ourselves on a pedestal either. It's a fine line, and we don't put ourselves down either. Let's just say you discover this thing about yourself, that I am the bad guy in this situation. This situation, I was the one who brought hurt to this person. I was the one who caused someone else emotional trauma. I didn't mean it. There's a difference if you meant it. But sometimes it's just a characteristic. It's a way that you behave that gets you into a position where you hurt somebody. When you discover this about yourself, you can either look at it and be aware of it in such a way that you say, this is what I am now. I would like to change. You're creating the possibility of change when you do that. Alternatively, you could look at yourself and say, I don't want to change. I'm just going to remove myself from this scenario so that I no longer cause harm to these people. Why you might choose to not change is because that thing in you could be useful somewhere else. And you might look at it and say, true, I cause harm to these people. I'll remove myself, but this thing actually is an integral part of me. Nothing is forever. Everything that you go through is gonna be a phase. Even that thing. You might go through a part where you're neglectful of people around you. You might go through a part where you chase or you build toxic environments. Being aware of it is greater than forcing yourself to change, because you might not be able to change it. Actually, I would say to you, most of the time, you might not be able to change it because the phase you go through usually comes with a growth that you need with that thing. The other thing, don't let anybody put you down. Yes, sure, I was the hurt in this scenario, but that doesn't mean that someone can abuse me for it. It doesn't mean that someone could make me feel like I'm nothing because of it. No, that's not an option. I apologize. I try to make amends, but I never become a slave. You'd rather remove yourself. Just, that's it. I know that if I'm in this environment, I'm gonna be toxic. I'm gonna be a problem. So I will remove myself. I will stand back. And I love these people. I don't want to bring them harm. If they are patient for me and they see that in me, there could be a time where I go back to these people. And the more you see this in yourself, the more you'll see it in others and accept them as well. Because sometimes you're not the problem. But when you've seen where you can be a problem, you will see that in other people better. When you don't see that you are a problem at all, you'll be very biased. You'll see that everyone else is always the problem. Yet when you see yourself as a problem, you'll look at other people with empathy. You'd understand that in our personalities, there are constructive parts and there are destructive parts. You are someone's challenge. You are someone's test. If you like what you're hearing, remember, Degloirespace is a movement where we approach ourselves holistically. We don't pick and choose. Whatever we have affects all of us. You want to be confident? You can't just be confident in one scenario. You have to look at confidence as a whole. And if you're into this message, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Be a part of this movement. So we see ourselves as, I am the destructive energy in this scenario. So what I will do is I'll remove myself till I am useful. What we want to do is not repress who we are. We want to make peace with who we are. We want to be able to say, I am the positive that I see, and I'm also the negative. And when you see it, it's neither positive or negative. It is all us. And sometimes what you call negative, put it in a scenario and it becomes, that same thing becomes positive. And sometimes that same thing that's positive, put it in another scenario and it becomes negative. That's why when we look at ourselves, we shouldn't look at ourselves with judgment, but rather look at yourself as a miracle. Look at yourself as a whole movement. You are more like a galaxy, a star. In a star, there are all types of forces. Some forces that collect, that pull in, and some forces that expand out, explode out. You need to look at yourself like that so that you see the grace in you. Just because you see that in you does not mean other people are going to see it in you. But if you don't see it in you, how will you ever be at peace with yourself like that? Degloirespace, signing out.